If you're healing from an anxious attachment style, there's something you need to know that I'm going to share with you in this video. Hi everybody, I'm John O'Brien. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. Here we discuss attachment theory and personal growth. Let's begin. So if you're struggling with an anxious attachment style and you've started your journey of healing, I want to applaud you for taking the first steps of self-awareness and learning more about this anxious attachment style. You see, I struggled myself with an anxious attachment style for so many years, but I never had any self-awareness. And because I didn't have self-awareness, my anxiety would take over and it would cloud my judgment. It would cloud my decision making. But once I got that self-awareness, things started to change. And if you're new to attachment theory, the anxious attachment style is one of the four main attachment styles. There's the secure attachment style, and that's what we all should be striving for. That's where we all want to be, feeling secure in ourselves and in our relationships. And then there's the anxious preoccupied attachment style. That's what we're covering today. It's called the anxious preoccupied because anybody struggling with this anxious attachment style is preoccupied with a relationship or the idea of a relationship. They have a fear of abandonment and they don't know how to be on their own. So they're so preoccupied with a relationship or the idea of a relationship. And this is one of the three insecure attachment styles. There's the other two insecure attachment styles, the avoidant attachment styles. There's the dismissive avoidant and the fearful avoidant. So what we're covering today is the anxious attachment style, also called the anxious preoccupied attachment style. So what I want you to know is that the first step is self-awareness. And that, for me, that made all the difference in understanding this attachment style. And that's when things started to change because I became more aware of my anxiety and my triggers and my fear of abandonment and my constant need for reassurance. And I started to, because I was more aware of that, I didn't act on that anxiety. I didn't act on those tendencies as much. I was able to regulate them more. But if you have started your journey of healing from an anxious attachment style, this is what I want you to know. And this is so important. There is no finish line. So you don't start your journey of healing and then time goes by and then one day you wake up and suddenly you're cured, you're healed, completely healed from your anxious attachment style. That's never going to happen. There is no finish line. Why? Because this is a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong journey of healing, and you're going to have to be putting in effort every day to maintain your self-awareness and your emotional regulation of your anxious attachment style. So it's going to be a lifelong journey of healing, and you're going to have moments. You're going to have moments where you're going to feel like you're back at square one. You might have a day where you feel like you're back at square one, where your anxious attachment tendencies are being triggered, your anxiety is being triggered, and you're going to feel like all of the healing that you did, all of the work that you did was for nothing. And I want you to know that it's completely normal to have these square one moments where you feel like you're back to square one. It's completely normal to have these moments. It doesn't mean that all of the healing you did and that all of the work you did was for nothing. Because what's going to happen is, know that it's just a moment. It's just a moment. It doesn't mean that you're off track. And that moment will pass. And as you continue into your healing journey, those moments are going to become less frequent and they're going to become less severe. You're going to have more awareness of these tendencies and you're going to be able to regulate them more. And over enough time, you're going to start to build emotional tolerance towards these anxious tendencies, towards your anxious attachment style. You're going to have more tolerance and you'll be able to regulate your emotions more. So you're not simply going to act out on instinct. So for me, when I had no awareness of the anxious attachment style, I wasn't aware of the tendencies. I would just act on impulse. I would just become needy. I would act on this constant need for reassurance. I would get caught up in my fear of abandonment, and I didn't even realize it. I didn't even realize what was going on. And it clouded my decision making, and I made some poor decisions in my friendships and in my relationships and in life over the years because I never had any self-awareness. But once I built that self-awareness, I continued with my healing. It's an everyday effort. My tolerance started to build up. So now I don't act out on those tendencies. I recognize them now. That's what's important. I recognize them. When I feel that fear of abandonment, when I feel those feelings of I need constant reassurance, what's going on, and I get caught up into in my overthinking, and my thoughts start racing, and I start creating these problems, these worst case scenarios that don't even exist. I recognize them now. I recognize what's going on. I can say to myself, okay, this is my anxious attachment style kicking in. These are my anxious attachment tendencies kicking in. And I can recognize them, and I can take a step back and not act out on them. The emotions are still there. The feelings are still there. The thoughts racing, all of that is still there. But now I recognize them, and I have tolerance. So I don't let them take control of me. I don't get lost in my overthinking. I know how to take a step back, recognize what's going on, recognize that my nervous system is in overdrive, and my mind thinks I'm in danger because this person is acting differently in my life, or this person didn't text back, or whatever it is. It can be the smallest things. If you have an anxious attachment style, you know what I'm talking about. You get caught up in your overthinking over the littlest things, and your fear of abandonment is triggered. But I don't get caught up in that anymore because I have self-awareness, and because I have been training myself every day to recognize when these triggers are happening, when these tendencies are being triggered. I can recognize them and say, okay, this is what's happening. My thoughts are in overdrive. It's not reality. I can take a step back, let my emotions calm down, cool my emotions, cool my anxiety. I'm not going to act out on them. I'm not going to give in to these impulses. I'm going to take a step back and let things calm down, because I can recognize these tendencies now. I can recognize what's going on, and I'm going to let everything cool. And once everything is cool, once my emotions, my anxiety has calmed down, okay, now I have sound judgment. Now I have clear and logical thinking. I can understand what's going on. I'm not going to make rash decisions. So that's an everyday effort. There's no, the takeaway from this video is that when you're on your journey of healing from your anxious attachment style, know that there is no finish line. It's a lifelong, everyday effort. It's okay to have moments where you feel like you're back at square one. They're just moments. You'll build more tolerance as you recognize these tendencies every day. You'll build more tolerance, and you'll be able to control yourself and control your decision making. You won't act out on these impulses. You won't act out on these tendencies. You'll recognize them. You'll recognize them for what they are. You won't run away from them. You'll confront them. You'll recognize them, and you'll let them settle. You won't act out on them. So I hope this video helps you understand the truth about the healing journey of an anxious attachment style. It's a lifelong journey, but every day you're going to build more tolerance, and it's going to become easier and easier to recognize and control your reactions to these tendencies. I hope I brought some good into your life today. If so, please like and subscribe to the video. If you know somebody who might be struggling with an anxious attachment style, please share this video with them. And if you need help healing from an anxious attachment style, there's one trick that I share in this video right here. So please take a look at that. You take care, and I'll see you in the next.